I'm Xavier. I'm leading the AI practice at Softeam Group. And we are a French company that is existing quite a long time. And our main activity is around financial services. So that's why we can deliver this kind of projects like BforBank. We are at Softeam specialist in AI, and we are working a lot with Watson and all the IBM solutions. We are delivering projects that are mixing some different competencies like robotics, data science, and cognitive solutions. We will talk about all the skills we need to deliver some projects at BforBank just after. So our main offering is IBM-based solutions, but we are working a lot around vertical solutions for banks, insurance, and maybe to create some custom solutions. What we are trying to do is to optimize and try to be more efficient in the execution of our customer process. And with a great focus on what we call digital process automation, that is the ability to mix the technologies and the approach to try to have great savings in the short term and to rely on all innovative solutions like artificial intelligence. So the key point is we are working a lot with the Crédit Agricole Group, and BforBank is one of the subsidiaries from Crédit Agricole. It is a bank that is a pure online player, so they are on the web with mobile applications, and they are trying to extend their customer portfolio and to create new services, and it's a very competitive market, so they have to be different to exist and to acquire new customers. So there is almost 3,100 customers in the bank, and they were initially focused on premium customers to have a good expertise from their banking experts, and they are in the top 5 of French online banks, and they are trying to develop and extend their services. So new services, banking services and products, but how to be different in the customer care and the way they are delivering this expertise to their customer portfolio. So to do that, there is a maturity in the online banking market in France, and they have to be quite innovative and creative around a new way to keep their existing customer and to extend to new ones. So how to do that? In fact, in BforBank, the customer care services were a great challenge because they have a lot of success, so they have a lot of requests from the existing customers. And when you are a pure online player, you have some natural ways to communicate with the bank. So with a phone, make a phone call to your customer care services, to chat, to write some emails, and there is a lot of increasing requests from customers, and to deal with that, you have 2 ways to do that, to extend your capacity and the number of your business experts to answer to the request, or in parallel, to try to automate the handling of this request. So there were some pain points in the customer care in the banks, and there was an existing stacks of unanswered requests, that the banks won't be able to manage, and frequently they have to put in place some task force. And when you put a task force, you are mobilizing some new manpower, new mandates that are not very trained about customer relationship and maybe enough expertise to deliver good message to customers. So in this context, the bank has new needs from the customers, and they have to answer to these new needs. There are new way to send some request, or you want your banker to be online and can answer to your request at midnight, could be a possibility. The experience has to be customized. So you're one customer, you're not a common customer in a group, and you can't deliver the same message and the same answer to all of your customers. Otherwise, you're not a premium bank, you're just a standard bank, and that is managing a lot of customers, but in a common way. So the rapidity, the ability to give quick answers, it's a really good criteria to measure your ability to be a good bank and close to your customers. And you have to develop and promote new services because you're an online bank, so you have to innovate and to create new customer experience on your website, on mobile applications, and on the way you're promoting your new product. So BforBank has to challenge and to succeed around all these topics. And to do that, they have to manage and do not increase the cost for running the bank. Otherwise, you're not profitable. So you have to scale your expertise, you have to scale your teams, and you have, in parallel, to make some savings and to deliver this customer care properly and in a good way. So the quality of the service delivered has to really be monitored continuously. And your customers have to be happy and won't go to the concurrent. So you have to manage your churn and to improve the way you're communicating and answering to your customer. So how to do that? What we try to create with BforBank, it's a partnership, a strong partnership around a digital process automation approach. So what is it? Here you have a customer or a business that is dealing with a lot of applications, but you can recognize some patterns. The way you're browsing around applications, typing, etc. It's the way to mimic what are the actions with the hands. And to do that, you have bots around some technologies like RPA, so robotic process automation, to do that. You're automating a process, so you have to orchestrate your process and to monitor it. So you have some orchestration, like BPM. You have to decide or managing the way you are automating your process. So to do that, you have some criteria and rules. So business rules management system is a good way to do that. You can have some images, information that is unstructured but not readable easily by an information system. So you have to manage your data with a vision capability. And the last one is to understand what is difficult for a computer to understand and to get some insights, so with the artificial intelligence. So what needs the banks is to mimic the behavior a business member or a customer to automate a process. So to do that, you have to mix and to play with different technologies and to create a real platform to be able to host new use cases and to be scalable in a functional way. So you have the business automation part with products like ODM or IBM RPA or IBM BPM. You have Watson with the AI, we will talk about it deeply. And the first thing to do is to know your process. So you have to have a good mapping and to know exactly what is the real life from your business team or customers, and not only what is described in specifications. Because there is a great gap between the reality and what is written on paper. So you have to understand what is the data, and to decide what kind of actions you will deploy with this data. You have to orchestrate your business, we talk about it, and you have to deploy. And to deploy your solution, you have to be fast, because it's good to have a good quality of service quickly and so great savings quickly. So you have to rely, if it's possible, on cloud solution. So with IBM, you have a great coverage of all these topics, and to implement what is your DPA platform. So to succeed in these challenges, you have to deploy quickly, because if you're waiting to have all use cases that can be implemented in this kind of platform, you won't go in production until, I don't know, 1 or 2 years. And what you want to do is to improve your customer care quality quickly and to have savings quickly. Otherwise, you have to hire new people in your business teams to handle an increasing number of customers. So it's quite difficult to be ready to deploy in production something that is just covering a small part of your process of your the knowledge you have in your organization. So you have to build an industrial platform, and with this kind of products, so Watson, RPA, you have the ability to do that. But there is a great key success factor with the skills and the way you are creating and building your teams that will be able to build, deploy, and run this kind of solutions. So you are the 4R, so it's used in RPA, but you can use it in digital process automation too. You have to manage and to succeed if your customer relationship has some benefits of this kind of solution. You're lowering the risk because you're not typing and frequently some numbers and so on. The system is doing it for you, or preparing all these figures where there are some mistakes frequently. Your employees must be responsible because it's not a black box. You have to understand it and to maintain a good knowledge of the process and what is running the bank. Because if you're deploying robots and AI everywhere and you won't manage any failover, you will be in difficulty when you have a new member in your teams, or your robots are falling down and you have to manually keep the bank running, so going in the past and making what robots are dedicated for. So it's really, really important to involve your employees in this kind of approach. And you have the return on investment, but if you are going deep very quickly in production, it will be a success. So how to start this kind of approach? You have to reduce the timeline you have in standard projects, because you have the cloud to deploy quickly and to go quickly in production. You have industrialized solutions like Watson in cognitive or NLP approach. And you have RPA when integration is really a big challenge, and we have when you have a lot of applications to manipulate and orchestrate. So go on a small part of your process and try your solution, and after iterate and deploy it everywhere in your organization. So we will focus on two stacks we used at BforBank. So the IBM RPA platform with Automation Anywhere. So you have an RPA solution that is able to, with scripts, to manipulate web applications, Citrix, mainframe, and so on, very easily. And when you're creating your bots, it's about a few days to create the scripts, managing exceptions, and after deploying production, it's about 4 weeks. So it's quite quick, and you're able to succeed. Unlike if you're developing in a standard way some integration with 5 or 4 systems with interfaces, a lot of tests, and so on. So if you're going with RPA, you're going through interfaces, so user interfaces, and it's quite, you have a lot of tools to manipulate these kind of applications, so you're going very fast. So for the platform, the RPA part is deployed on-premise in the BforBank information system, but the AI still running on the cloud on IBM Cloud platform. So we used 2 modules to start. To automate the email analyzing when customers are writing emails, how you can handle and understand the request, answering or making some actions into your core banking system or customer relationship management, and automatically. So that was the challenge. So to do that, to understand the text and the request into emails, we used the Watson Assistant module to detect and to understand what is written into the text. So you can have some topics, some class of requests, but they can be multiple. So you can have different questions into the email. So Watson Assistant is able to detect multiple intents, so that's a good module to do that. And when we are talking about be close to your customer and to customize the customer experience, you have to answer differently and not at the same speed when you have a customer that is requesting a lot the same thing and is quite angry because he or she doesn't have his answer. So you have to detect the tone of the request, and be able to do that. You can use a tone analyzer that is pre-trained by IBM to understand what is the context and the way the customer is writing his request. So just a good overview of the architecture. To analyze the emails, you have a robotic process automation, so RPA bot that is understanding the request, so getting the text, send it to the cognitive platform, and after that, when the answer, the question is understood, to determine the answer or the actions, you have to rely on other RPA bots, and we will call it miners. So yeah, just to make some actions on different systems. If you deploy an automated platform to handle your emails, you have to deploy it and to build it with your business teams. if you don't do that, it won't be accepted, and your employees won't work with the robots, but without the robots. And robots that are really used are, in fact, feeding the business teams where they are not well trained, and they have to be the request has to be handled by experts, or when you have a standard request received by the business teams, they can forward it to the bots. So there are a lot of exchange, and you have to create this dynamic when you're deploying this kind of bots. And there is another one, but we will detail it just a few slides afterwards. So the miners have been realized with RPA solutions because there are a lot of systems to orchestrate and to manipulate. So you have Watson to understand the demand, the text. You have Eptica, that is cloud-based solutions to handle multiple way of dealing and communicating with your customers, so emails, phone calls, and so on. So it's a centralized platform, but it's a SaaS platform, so you don't have easily any access about the data model, the APIs, and so on. So it's quite easy to do that with the front end. You have the CRM of the bank and some other systems. So when you have some RPA bots, it's very easy, and in few weeks you can be manipulating and communicating with all of these systems, so it's quite fast. To be able to scale, you have to design some small bots that are really well trained and efficient to deal with one or two applications we just mentioned just before. And in this way, when Watson and the first bot is understanding something, if you have a new topic or a new intent that has been trained into the artificial intelligence in the model, you just have to put a new bot, a new miner, to handle and to manage this new use case, new request. So it's quite easy to scale vertically with this approach. So the artificial intelligence with Watson is supervised, so you have to train your AI, and it won't be good at the first time, so it's very iterative. You have to put some efforts with and some priorities on what are the main topics and subjects you want to deal with. But where there are some mistakes, you have to monitor and to create a new backlog to train your AI. And if you're not monitoring your production and supervising what bots are doing, you won't be able to create this backlog. And to do that, we created some RPA bots that are supervising the behavior and the way humans are correcting or making some changes to the suggestions that are issued from Watson. So when something is changed in the tools, the bot is detecting, the suggestion or the answer was not appropriate, and the expert puts some new answers into the email. So you will be able to detect it and create what is the new training version of your AI in Watson. So we identified almost 200 intents, so topics, subjects from the customer care department, and when you're answering to an email to a customer, a real customer, you want he or she to be satisfied. And to do that, you have to be sure that your artificial intelligence is understanding properly the initial request. And to do that, you have to expect a very high score. When your AI is just saying it's 60%, you're not really sure. So maybe the best things to do is you won't have to answer directly to the customer, forward it to an expert, and it will be okay. But if you want your system to be autonomous, you have to target higher confidence score. And to do that, we have an approach to cut into slice the request and to refine and call Watson maybe 4 times to be sure that the intent is precisely detected. So with this kind of design and approach, you have maybe no mistake when you're answering to your customers. Just one figure. Currently, they're processing automatically almost 40 to 50% of the emails, the incoming request. And the target were about 70% when we launched the project. So how we deployed and we were going into production with the first version. We make a proof of value, so it was the ability to test the ability to integrate Watson and RPA to analyze the emails. And after that, we targeted a version in production in 3 months. The problem it was we deal with that just in 5 months because we have a lot of constraints and requirements with the hardware, the infrastructure, with RPA, the RPA part. But with Watson and the ability to create bots very quickly, you're able to deploy an email analyzer in just 3 months if you don't have any questions or problematic with the infrastructure. So that's the deal. So to do that and to develop and deploy quickly, you have to have a team that is really able to manipulate all these kind of stacks you have into the platform. So you have some data scientists, but your data scientists can use NLP packaged Watson modules without any code. So you have to use them with the ability to well train an NLP module in Watson. You have some classic developers in Java or Node.js and so on that are able to develop RPA solutions because it's quite easy to have new skills on this kind of products. And with that, you create a center of excellence that is able to automate almost everything into the bank. And what will drive the priority and the way you will automate with your platform, it's the kind of data you're manipulating. As a structured, unstructured, you got insights, or you have some images and so on. And with that, you will find your journey and your path to go into production and to automate your processes. So in 5 months, 6 posts in production, and it's running very well. And you don't have to underestimate so the training if you have some artificial intelligence components, but the way you are monitoring this kind of solutions, because you have to have a good audit trail to understand what's running into production and how you can have a good diagnosis of the mistakes or if something is not going very well. So with AI, you have great challenges because you have to make it understandable, but with your bots, it's the same thing. So what are the results after 6 months into production? In fact, all the emails are analyzed, and 40 to 50% are processed automatically. But what is important, that was the bank has new services and new banking products into its portfolio. So the number of customers is increasing. And when you have some stocks into your customer care services and new customers, you have to hire to scale and have a good capacity to do that. So what they decided to keep their teams as they were, and to put the bots into production. And in fact, you have more customers now without any new resources into the business teams. So it was a great success for that. And the cost of the analysis and the ability to answer properly to an email is about €5 or dollars when an expert is handling this kind of request. But with the DPS stack, you can reach almost something that is divided by 10 in terms of cost. So you can have great savings and the ability to be focused on your business expertise with your teams. And the customer satisfaction is increasing because you don't have you have less phone calls because the email was not a good way to exchange with the bank, and you have less requests that are submitted again by customers. So the customer satisfaction is going high. So here you are just the key figures. We made a lot of workshops to determine what was a good way to deploy this kind of architecture and approach into business and IT teams. But when you're thinking about business automation, it's quite easy to have a great number of opportunities, and after to have a good vision of what is the business priority, you have to think about your data and the way you will be. You need to understand this kind of data, and it could be quite complicated if you put artificial intelligence and a lot of training to understand your data. So they have some quick wins and some projects that are quite long-term projects. So the emails are answered very quickly now, 5 times quicker. And you have new bots into productions. If you want some metrics, you will be able to deliver 1 or 2 pure RPA bots into production with this IBM stack every month. And if you put artificial intelligence, you will have to train between 8 to 12 weeks to have MVP or something that is trained on a subset of your data that are manipulated into the process. So the initial target for the bank was to handle this and to improve the customer care, but to become a cognitive bank, so that the way to understand better your business and your customers. So to do that, you have to deploy this kind of initiative into your company, but in all business lines. So here you just have a map of the different business line in BforBank, and the number of bots that are at the center identified, so it's an opportunity. And when you're going on the circle with the green part, it's deployed into production. So with that, here you have two business lines that are not already into building some solutions with the platform, but you can do that, and the finance and compliance part will be next customers of the DPA platform. Just to see what was a customer request processing before and after the DPA approach. So here you have some emails incoming and that are received by Eptica. You have a manager that is scanning and dispatching the request to the expert teams, and the experts are analyzing and making an answer and an appropriate answer to the customer. But the problem was when you have something that is quite urgent, or the customer is quite angry, you won't be able to detect it because the request was managed with a FIFO approach, first in, first out. But now, when you have the ability to scan it and to rely on Watson, you have an escalation process because the tone and the intents that are quite specific to something that is not good or very urgent in the customer request, you have to escalate and put it in priority in the business teams. So to conclude, here you just have the vision we defined together with BforBank of what is a cognitive journey and how it can be deployed into the bank and the business teams. So we started with RPA bots, so checked, that's done. With mailbots, chatbots when you have the way to communicate differently with your customers. So it's in progress, and they are developing some chatbots, in particular with the mobile applications. And after, you can go really deeper into the data and the analytics, because you can create some machine learning models to be predictive and to tell your customer, maybe you bought some tickets to go in vacation, I don't know, in Australia. Okay, it's a good way to see what are your insurance and if something has to be added, or what are the risks if you don't subscribe to any new products if you go there. So the ability to have a chatbot that is a real coach because it's predicting something with your behavior and all the history of your data and actions. It's really an intimate customer relationship you're creating with your customers. And after, with the customer care, you have to handle phone calls too, and with Watson and the ability to have the dialogue capabilities with a Watson assistant. If you put speech to text or text to speech modules, you have the ability to manage and handle some requests you have directly to the call center. So that would be the next step. Okay, thank you very much. Maybe you have some question. I think it's still a few minutes. Yes?
You mentioned that you have the intent analyzer checking emails. Are you using any of the portfolio for client segmentation, higher priority clients, or anything like that in what you described?
Yeah, we are using some data you have in the CRM and you have some new rules that have been created. If it's this kind of intent and the customer is, I don't know, a VIP, VIP customer, maybe you can put the email to the expert team to manage it and handle it properly. Yes?
Yeah. Have you used Watson or any machine learning tool to use any collection strategies, collection purposes?
Collection.
Delinquency. Or delinquency, yeah. All about delinquency. I mean, the customers that they don't pay the credits, slow payers.
So, in fact, when I think it's in the intent list, maybe, but it was not the focus. The strategy was to begin with where the intent was the biggest intent to automate, and after the second and so on. But it was not prioritized by some topics or something that is critical for the bank, like a fraud detection or something like that. But you have it in the intent list, and you can automate it if you train your AI system. But it's not done. It has to be done. Yes.
So on the cognitive journey, it's from simple to more complex.
Yeah.
Way of arranging.
Yes. Any other question? Okay. Thank you very much. And I will